Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're working on my 1997 80 Series Land Cruiser. This is actually the LX 450 Lexus version, but it's the same thing essentially. This is triple locked. It's got the magic button there. Switch, I should say. Anyways, I bought this, I don't know, it's been a while now, a year or two ago. Really haven't had much time to work on it. It popped up in town where I live and it was $1,000. So far what I've done to it, it had some massive oil leaks. I actually thought it was going to catch fire the first time I drove it home. So I did valve cover gaskets, plugs, new radiator, all new hoses, water pump, fix the exhaust, fix some rotted out brake lines, put some different wheels and tires on it that I just had laying around. And I'm getting closer to being able to drive it. Alright, so today I'm going to work on the front axle. Right now, there's actually two lugs that are broken off, or two studs. I was like that when I got it, so I don't really want to drive it without fixing that. And since I've got to pull the whole axle apart to fix that, I'm going to do a rebuild on the hubs and everything. So you can see this one's got quite a bit of play in it. I don't know if that shows up on camera or not. You can hear it kind of wobbling. So the bearings these are adjustable bearings, but I bought a full kit to replace the bearings and everything else. So get you guys in here and see how dirty this is. I did find out when I did the first oil change, the oil hadn't been, or at least the filter hadn't been changed in about 10 years. I think it had been sitting for a very long time. So I'm expecting this to look pretty nasty as well. All the lockers work fine. There's no strange noises, so I think it's okay. But there is some chunks on there. Not ideal, but alright, so we did have two pieces of metal in there. These guys right there. Not ideal, but who knows, they could have been floating around there for the last decade or more. So everything's still quiet, so we're just gonna finish up the axle and then refill it and go from there. Alright, so just to give you an idea of how deep this goes, here's a broken stud. This one's all stripped out. In order to get those, to replace those, you've got to get this hub apart. And then since I've got it apart, here's all the steering knuckle and everything here. And here's the book. So essentially, gotta pull this cap off, all this stuff, then you can get the hub off, and then I can replace those studs. And since I'm already going to be in there, I might as well do all these bearings, and then I've got the stuff to replace all the bearings for the steering, all these gaskets, seals, and the whole works. So doesn't look like a real fun job. Honestly, at the moment I'm thinking maybe I'll just replace the studs and then drive this thing for a while and then go from there. There's the whole hub assembly, bearing, now I can get those studs replaced. Actually, the bearing and the race look really good. I might just do the studs and throw this thing back together. All right, so change of plans here. I was originally going to rebuild this whole axle. But I think I'm just going to, these bearings don't look bad at all, so I'm just going to throw this thing back together. I'll throw this little fresh grease in here. Throw this back together, and I'm just going to run it for a while. I may still rebuild the axle this winter sometime, but for now I think I'll just put some miles on it, see if there's any more chunks that are going to show up in that diff in case I need to do something with the diff, and kind of go from there. So I'll just pack some fresh grease in this bearing. Alright, so that's like so. Alright, so while I have this up in the air, I'm going to change the T-case fluid and the rear diff too. Since I've never done that, and I don't think it's been done in at least a decade. Get the skid plate out of here first. Actually, it doesn't look too bad. Pretty clean, really. A little bit of stuff on the magnet, but not bad at all. Huh. That looks pretty good. All right, onto the rear. Last thing you want to do is drain the thing and then not be able to get the fill plug back out. This one's kind of rusty, so we'll see how this goes. All right, got it loose. See if we can get the fill plug out, I mean the drain plug out. There we go. Ooh, that one does not look good at all. Long overdue. Lots of metal filings and gunk on there too. No big chunks, but just a lot of garbage. So I think what I'll do is I'll just put some standard gear oil back in here, run it for a few thousand miles, and then change it out again. So if you haven't seen me use this before, this is just a power-filled transfer pump. You can get these on Amazon for like $100. And you just pressurize them kind of like a garden sprayer, or you can use an air hose. And it really makes filling up these transfer cases and diffs and transmissions really easy. Alright, so today's a new day. I did take this for a drive yesterday. Went probably about 10 miles. Probably the longest drive it's been on in a decade or so. It is still leaking a lot of oil. I don't know if it's coming. I know the steering box is leaking pretty bad, and I'm going through a lot of power steering fluid, so I hope that's most of it. But it might be front main seal too, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. But I also ran into some issues with the exhaust. Actually, the outside of the muffler just started smoking really bad and smelled hot. I think it's just burning off this old junk on here. But I wanted to get some temperature readings on that, so I'm gonna patch up a couple things. This O2 sensor too came out. Essentially somebody had it held on with this baling wire. So I'm just going to tap these studs, put a new gasket on that, get that put back in place, and then go take it for another drive. I'll bring you along this time in case it catches fire or anything fun. Kind of a tight area, so I'm just going to see if I can use a crescent wrench. Alright, so I have an actual gasket here. Get that on there. One more thing that's should be wrapped up. We'll change transmission fluid quick. Just do a drain and refill, and then we'll take it for another drive. See what happens. So next up, we're just going to do a partial transmission change, fluid change. I think this holds around 12 quarts total, but when you're just doing a drain and refill, I think it's around 2 quarts. So I'm just going to try and dump it in this jug here just so I can see how much I get out of there, so I know how much I need to put back in. Oh, that does not want to come out. That doesn't feel good. Feels like it's just solid gunk or something. There we go. Pretty dark. So I'll probably do this a few times, just do a partial change today, then run it for a while and do another partial. Alright, so here's a closer look at this fluid. Pretty dark. Really dark, actually. So it's definitely overdue for being changed. Alright, this battery's shot too, so I've just got the charger on there. See if we can get this thing fired up again. And then we'll take it for another drive. I want to put it up in the air first and see if I can find out where that oil leak's coming from. Got some exhaust noise yet. It looks like that bracket's broken off up there, and it's really rotted out all the way around here. It's blowing out right here. So it needs a new muffler. This is just soaking wet back here. I think it's all coming from the engine though, or power steering. Got a bad idler bearing right there, I think. And you can see the oil running down the front of the motor right there. Where's it coming from? I think it's coming from, I don't know, it's either that front main seal or the power steering pump and gearbox. I'm thinking front main seal is probably why it's springing all over the place. Kind of hard to tell though. Alright, so we're going to take this thing for another drive, and one thing I'm a little worried about is the oil pressure is pretty low when you're just idling. It goes up as soon as you take off though. Kind of see how this goes. Alright, so it's running pretty well. Oil pressure is up as long as we're driving.
Yeah, it's up over halfway. Over halfway.
Back together yet. The check engine light just came on. We'll pull over quick and see if we can read any codes here. Just getting an insufficient coolant temperature for closed loop fuel control. And pending is O2 sensor heater circuit 135 and 141. Doesn't feel too bad for power though. Try to get on the interstate here, see how this goes. Might be walking home. Alright, so put about 44 miles on it. Running pretty good. It's still leaking a ton of oil. A little bit of an antifreeze smell too. And the oil pressure just drops down to about nothing when you're idling. Goes right up as soon as you bring up the revs. So I gotta figure that out too. We're gonna see if we can get the AC charged up, if it works at all, and then go from there. Alright, we're a little concerned about the oil pressure on this. So we added a gauge down here. We can fire it up, let it warm up, and then see what the pressure's at. So, according to the factory service manual here, at idle we're supposed to be about 4.3 psi or more, and then at 3,000 RPM about 36 to 71. So let's see how this goes. This battery is shot too, so I've just got a booster pack we've been using. So I got the booster pack hooked up, and then we'll fire this thing up. Alright, so this has been running for about half an hour. Getting hot. Oil pressure reads really low on the gauge. See what it says on the pressure gauge here. About 15 psi is well within range. Supposed to be at least 4.3 psi on idle. Next we'll crank it up to about 3,000 RPM. And we max out the gauge over 60, which it should be between 36 and 71, so we're in good shape. That gauge is just a little deceiving on the dash. Alright, so I'm going to order some more seals, see if I can get some of these oil leaks stopped. Probably do a front main seal, do the power steering pump rebuild, and then kind of go from there. So that's when I wrap this one up. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.